Big part of Duquesne. Actually, we have, because of Pittsburgh's jazz history, we have a few folks. There's a specific person who graduated from Duquesne, a guy named Sammy Nestico, who's incredibly famous. Okay, Sammy is he's the one we can tout from Duquesne University, a big jazz figure. But the fact that Pittsburgh is the jazz mecca that it is, and historically the jazz place it is, it's important that we carry on this tradition. And we have forever. Since I was a kid here, a student from '76 to '80. And we had a nice strong jazz program then, so it's very cool for me coming back in '97 and continuing the tradition.
So what can your students learn through jazz that will serve them outside of the concert hall?
Well, actually, okay, so if we think about the bigger umbrella, not just jazz, but commercial music, as I mentioned, okay, so this is, if nothing else, this is a way to make a living. It's a popular idiom. Classical music is kind of becoming more of a specialized thing, right? Okay, but this commercial music and jazz will always be a popular music.
Yeah.
And so we're teaching them not only to be creative, but to make a living being creative. So that's really what I think really any degree should be designed for that. Sometimes we get lost in academia and we forget this is all about trying to make a living. You know, so I feel very good that we're teaching the students to actually make a living.
Right, and it's fun for them too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so my last question for you is, how does jazz music teach musicians about how to adapt to other genres and incorporate their skills into other genres of music?
Oh, nice. Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so one of the things about this music that doesn't happen in classical music. Classical music is essentially Beethoven's Fifth Symphony will be Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, okay, with slight differences. Here, the music can be different every time we play it. In other words, we could play this same concert again, and things would be different. And so the students learn to react. This idea of being able to musically react to the situation and adapt. And as you said, that's the idea. We're constantly trying to keep our ears open and adapting to a change. If we hear, like whenever I'm playing, for instance, I'm doing my thing, and I hear the drummer do something, I may react to that. And so I want them to do the same thing, even though we have 18 musicians on stage. Whenever we get to the improvisation part, it's all about that person who's soloing and the rhythm section. So it's all about the give and take that happens between those groups, you know, the constant adaptation of things.
Yeah, that's just great, like watching a jazz music scene. How is it important to you personally, and what does it mean for you?
Well, there's part of it is just the livelihood of me and, you know, the rest of the people in that ensemble, in that band, and part of it is also just, sorry, let me think of how I want to say this. It's one of those things where you kind of fall in love with it, and then, you know, nothing's ever good enough. So you gotta keep going, and then you get re-interested in it, and you know, new things happen, and you find new people to listen to, and you find new sounds to emulate.
Cool.
It's an addiction.
It is.
That's what Jeff Jeff Bush. That's what he says. It's an addiction.
How did you get into jazz specifically?
That's an interesting story. I was sitting in a Panera Bread in my hometown in Erie, and Clifford Brown, the Clifford Brown album come on. They got really good music at Panera Bread. And Clifford Brown, he's a trumpet player from the 60s, 50s really, 50s, 60s. And that was what kicked. I was like, hey, I want to play like that. I was in high school. I thought, gee whiz, I'd really like to be able to play like that. And not to say that I ever will, because Clifford Brown is an absolute master.
Well, I would say you're definitely on your way based on yourself.
I appreciate that. But you know, it's a constant source of inspiration. Still my favorite trumpet player, Clifford Brown.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, and my last question for you is, how does playing jazz help you in other areas of your life?
Well, there's definitely a big social component to it, because I mean it's a social art. You know, you have to be listening, you have to be communicating visually, and it's interesting because it really enhances, you know, your nonverbal communication.
Right.
It's definitely a social aspect to it. I would say the biggest area in which it, you know, helps me as a person is just fulfillment.
Yeah.
You know, it's just personal fulfillment. Yeah. There's definitely a spiritual thing to it. You know, you got jazz in your soul, as some people say.
Yeah. I would